Brilliant. Well, it sounds like a model that A, should be watched carefully, but B, would be wonderful to attempt to replicate in other areas of the globe. However, I think your statement earlier is probably leads to why it's happening in Europe and not in other places. It's that ethos of education as a public good, and that, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that there are many good things about working in this part of the world. There are elements where perhaps we could be more business-like, not a business, but business-like processes. But on the other hand, the reason we've got 12, 13 universities sharing and willing to share and collaborate at a deep level is because we're not seeing ourselves as competing with each other in the same way as we might in a smaller ecosystem, smaller fishbowl in some respects, not trying to be disrespectful, but it is most definitely a different ethos and a different role that universities in particular play. European universities are actually quite small in comparison to Australian universities in particular. The idea that you could have a university with 90,000 students is mind-boggling in this part of the world. But they're unique. They add their own flavor within that ecosystem. They have a niche, if you like, habitat within the wider ecosystem. And diversity and richness comes from that. So we're better for that variety. And if you think even the ecosystem analogy or metaphor is quite a good one in many respects, because the future of any species, plant or animal, depends on its adaptability as the environment changes. So the more diverse the environment, the more arguably you are ready to adapt. You're being prepared to adapt. It's the very reason my own university, that ecosystem sort of metaphor I've given you, why my own university chose to get into MOOCs, because we wanted to position ourselves, not to showcase our wares on the global stage, but to learn how we could do things differently in a different sandbox. To position us for what's coming. And COVID, I think, showed that those institutions that had made an investment in new models, particularly digital infrastructure and different ways of doing things, were far better positioned. In our case, it was not a difficult pivot, not to underestimate how challenging it was, but that advanced work we had done really positioned us.
Yeah, I think the work that universities who had started that transformation process prior to COVID are the ones that are frankly going to survive in a post-COVID world. Couldn't agree more.